The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody to this 10-minute podcast where I'm going to share with you a few of my thoughts on my understanding of current education policies and exploring their impact on schools as organisations. This module focuses in depth on current education policy and the way in which it is seeking to transform schools as organisations. To begin with, to help you understand my role, I'm just going to take a few moments to describe the context of my school, as this will help you to understand the nature of my role. I'm a school business manager in a two-form entry primary academy, where over 60% of the children have English as an additional language. The eligibility for free school meals is approximately 25%. There are 420 pupils and 80 staff, and other initiatives we are involved in are we are a lead school for Teaching School Alliance. We are also a national support school and a provider of school-based initial teacher training, which is known as a SCIT. So as you can imagine, the role and responsibilities are very varied. I remember when I studied this unit for my ADSBM back in 2011, I found the concepts quite hard to understand, as educational policy was very new to me. I had only been working in education for a few years, and all I knew about the white paper that was published in 2010 was that it was a very lengthy document that the Chair of Governors had given me the previous year, which had sat buried at the bottom of my in-tray, but was on my must-read list. The terminology used throughout the module, for example, top-down performance management, system-wide innovation and improvement, was all new to me as well. But by the end of the unit, I understood the journey that education has taken over the years and how changes in governments have influenced schools as they are today. Needless to say, as I studied this module, I dusted down my copy of the white paper and completed all of the various tasks of the module. Many of the contents were new initiatives: academisation, pupil premium, teaching school alliances, but as I have revisited the document more recently, it amazes me of how much of it has been achieved. So, looking ahead, it will be the latest white paper published in March 2016 called Educational Excellence Everywhere that will be instrumental in making the changes over the next 5 years. I thought I would spend some time sharing my thoughts on this policy, looking at 5 key areas and how the changes will impact on my role. These are universal academisation, money, teaching, leadership, and school improvement. The first of these, universal academisation, has been revised due to the reaction this generated. So the government have agreed that not all schools need to convert to an academy. During those few weeks from when the policy had been issued and prior to the amendment, the principal asked me to find out as much as I could about the process to convert from a single academy trust, known as a SAT, to a multi-academy trust, which is known as a MAT. This is something my school has considered before, but the trustees had decided that the current autonomy we have is exactly what we want, and that perhaps by converting to a MAT, some of this would be lost, as representatives from other schools may take up positions on the MAT board. Following the amendment to the paper, as an approved sponsor school, we have been approached by the DFE to sponsor a school. The schools that get sponsored are deemed to be failing schools, so the government's set up would be very different within the MAT for schools in this position, thus allowing our school to maintain total representation on the MAT board and therefore our autonomy. We have been asked to sponsor a local school, so we are just in the process of initial discussions, and if these are successful, then we would have to undertake a full process of due diligence. I believe the staff and governors at any school being sponsored have to be in agreement with the process in order to maximise the benefits this can bring. My school would be entering into an agreement for the moral purpose of enabling more children in the area to benefit from outstanding teaching and learning, and the sponsored school would benefit from all of the improvements this would bring. One of my jobs in the next few weeks is to apply for a grant of £75,000 to prepare our infrastructure and resources to become a MAT. The issue I have with this is time. Converting to an academy was a massive increase in workload, during the conversion process in particular, but although this decreased when the academy opened, the time needed to comply with the Education Funding Agency reporting and returns has changed the finance aspect of my role. Being a separate legal entity to the local authority has meant we have had to register for VAT, and due to the numerous income funding streams we have, this has been complicated further by having to carry out our partial exemption calculations. I don't think I was aware of how different a school business manager's role was working in an academy compared to a maintained school. So regarding funding, the white paper confirms that the PE grant, currently paid at £5 per pupil over the age of 5, will continue in a bid to try and ensure that children have a healthy start in life. This funding equates to approximately £9,000 per year for my school, and as a school business manager, I am responsible for trying to maximise funding and have secured a further £10,000 from the Big Lottery Fund, and the total amount of £19,000 will be used to install an outdoor adventure play area for our Key Stage 2 children. Another complication to academy funding is that any grants need to be accounted for in the year they are received, which is in the 15-16 financial year. Yet the contractor we have chosen to install the new equipment is unable to start the work until September, which is the next financial year. Not a problem at all, but just another difference to being a school business manager of an academy. Auditors checking everything every year, and I'm always learning something new. One of the changes to teaching in the white paper is the new content for evidence-based practice and subject knowledge for initial teacher training. In the white paper in 2010, school-centred initial teacher training, known as SCIT, was introduced, so my school became a SCIT last year. As a school business manager, I had no idea of the details of how teachers train, yet becoming responsible for the SCIT finances with income of nearly £200,000, I have had to learn about every step of the process. The largest cost of this training is staffing, so challenging the SCIT manager about how much of her time is taken up by her trainees, or how long it takes to carry out an observation and write the report, are all part of the process of budgeting. It has been a challenge working with teachers running, in effect, what is a business. Quite interesting at times, I can tell you. And quite often, I have had to flex my style to ensure I get the information I need to ensure the expenditure is tightly controlled. Last week, an auditor from the National College came out to audit the SCIT finance procedures. Thank goodness I had challenged, pestered and generally asked those awkward questions of staff over the last 12 months, as this ensured we gained the highest grade possible of high assurance. Being a school business manager isn't easy. I have a reputation of challenging everything, but then with auditors crawling over what seems to be everything, surely this is exactly what I am meant to be doing. There are numerous leadership initiatives in the white paper, but one relates to governance being skills-based. So as a school business manager, I attend all trustee meetings, and I have been given the role of development governor, so I'm aware that I need to know the skills of our current trustees. We have recently just recruited 2 new parent governors, So I was suggesting we select based on their skill set. I had seen an advert for a trustee vacancy for a local MAT, and the application form and process seemed to be very similar to applying for a job. So I suggested we recruited in a similar manner. Unfortunately, a balance of ethnicity of the governing body took priority over skill sets. So I'm aware that further changes are needed if we are going to comply with the latest government policy. School improvement will no longer be a local authority function from 2017. So as a national support school, we are well placed to be able to support schools who need it directly rather than being deployed by the local authority. As a school business manager, the challenge I have is ensuring we have the capacity to deploy the staff as and when required, yet ensuring we have the income to fund the additional staff costs. This system leadership income stream is the hardest to accurately budget, as it is very difficult to know if a local school will require support in the year ahead. Yet the staff we deploy to deliver the support are on permanent contracts paid for by the school. Earlier this year we had a situation when staff were not deployed, so they worked at our school instead. And very soon the staff got used to having this level of staffing working within our school. The issue I had then was proving, after several months, that the resources the staff had become used to were in excess of what we should have in place. I hope I have given you an insight into how the latest government policy has impacted on my life as a school business manager and the issues and challenges that have happened as a result. Educational excellence everywhere is in its infancy, so I'm sure there will be many more issues and challenges heading my way over the next few years, but I think this is why I do the job. Never a dull day. Thank you for listening.